What's up, SellerAmp Nation? In this video, I'm going to give you 10 back-to-school merch fulfilled tips you need to know to maximize your back-to-school sales, maximize your back-to-school profits. Make sure to watch this entire video. There's a ton of good alpha in terms of scaling up your business and stuff you need to know to make a ton of merch-filled big profits this back-to-school. Let's get right into it. To start off, some important dates you need to know for back to school. Back to school really goes from like July 15th to September 15th. However, different products pop off at different times in the season, right? Different advantages happen at different times, different sales on different retailers. So it's important to note, I'm obviously filming this on, early August here. So different products pop off at different times. Holistically, it goes from July 15th to September 15th. The peak of back to school in terms of industry wide is between like August 10th and August 30th, right? But different products pop off different times. Different products are hitting their peak right now. Certain products won't hit their peak during September, right? So for example, a lot of soccer gear and football gear will tend to do really well during September and October. Meanwhile, a lot of back to school supplies, calculators, etc., is going to be doing really well right now, right? Back to school is going to start to slow down in early to mid-September, but it's important to note, guys, there's no one-size-fit-all rules. Different products are going to perform well at different times, right? Number two, shipping templates. So this is something a lot of beginners are really worried about in regards to just making sure they're not losing money on FBM shipping. They don't have to be confusing though. I'd recommend just taking a picture of this and going ahead and implementing it today and understanding that for free and economy orders, it makes sense to do free shipping, right? So for standard and economy orders, just bake it into the cost, because when you do FBM, you don't pay FBA fees, but you do pay individual shipping. And when you do FBA, you don't pay individual shipping, but you do pay FBA fees. And both of those are based on size and weight. So for the most part, it ends up being very similar. And the decisions you're going to make on whether or not to FBM an item is mostly going to be based on if other people are doing it and how high the demand is right now. For example, a lot of listings are really going up in demand, aka down in sales rank right now. And you don't really have time to wait 2 or 3 weeks for it to check into FBA, especially if you can see other people FBMing it right now. And having your shipping template set up correctly is an important component of this, because as parents and just people in general need their back to school products quicker, they're going to be more and more inclined as the season goes on. It's the same exact thing during Q4. All this stuff's really relevant for Q4. They're going to need the products quicker, and they're going to be happy to pay expedite shipping cost based on that. So for next day, 2-day, and expedite orders, we'd recommend something like $30 plus $1 per pound specifically right there. Now, 0-day handling time. This is really important. Standard on your Amazon account, it's either going to have 1 or 2-day handling time, which basically means when you get an order, you have to ship it by like the next day, essentially depending on when your cutoff time is. However, Amazon's algorithm is going to give the most buy box share to whoever's giving the best experience, which is why the algorithm tends to favor FBA sellers. However, during back to school and during Q4 and different seasonal times and just items in general that have a lot of FBM sellers on it, it then comes down to who has the best customer experience among the FBM sellers, essentially, right? So what does that look like? It's going to be in terms like your review count, although that's not super important because you don't have a ton of control over that, especially if you're a new seller. Way more important than that is going to be better delivery dates. So for example, if me and you are on a listing together and my delivery date is August 7th and it's July 30th, but your delivery date is August 4th to the 6th because you're in 0-day handling time and I'm not, you're going to tend to get more buy box share. And obviously buy box does geographically vary different parts of the country relative to customers in general, right? However, you can set yourself up as best as possible by being in 0-day handling time, which you're going to get to by going to the top right gear menu, hitting shipping settings, then hitting general shipping settings, and then change it to 0-day handling time for merch fulfilled orders specifically. Tip number 4 is going to be that there's actually lots of products on Amazon that have multiple listings. A huge benefit of merch fulfilled is that you can actually hop on these multiple listings at the same time for the same item. So say you have, 10 of this product right here, and there were 2 Amazon listings or 3 Amazon listings. Sometimes there's even more. You can have them spread out 5 and 5. You just obviously have to make sure it's the same product right there. And the way you're going to find them is just by hitting keyword searches on Amazon. So for example, if we go ahead and search Nike black hoodie on Amazon, we can actually see that these 2 hoodies are the same product here, looking at the picture, the title, etc. And one has 400 reviews and one has 500 reviews. And all I did to find that was just hit the general keywords of that product here. So like a lot of like Puma slides are like that. A lot of Adidas slides are like that, for example. And that's something that confuses a lot of people that you can make a lot of extra profit on because it increases your upside and it decreases your risk. basically. And the way I found that was just by hitting the general keywords. If you keep this in mind when you're doing storefront stalking, you're going to find a ton of additional examples like this as well. Multiple listings is a major hack for merch fulfilled. When you FBA, you obviously have to commit a specific unit, specific ASIN. Meanwhile, FBM, you have that flexibility to lower and allocate stock as you need. Tip number 5 is going to be merchant fulfilled supplies. Don't sweat this stuff at all, guys. You can start out with basic boxes from Walmart, like 15 by 12 by 10 box range. You can buy bulk ones from Uline as well. Poly mailers are predominantly what you're going to use for FBM orders. That's going to be like 9 by 12, 12 by 15, and 19 by 24, just gray ones from Amazon right there. And make sure you get your free shipping labels from UPS as well. Is going to be super important too. And make sure you're just doing cuts on all these lines. Number 6 is going to be weight arbitrage. This is a little bit more advanced stuff, but you do have to understand that items that are above $20 but below £1 have really nice FBM profit numbers typically compared to FBA. However, you have to actually make sure you're doing the FBM numbers in SellerAmp correctly. The numbers can literally be shocking in some cases. Let's take a look at an example. Here on the Amazon product page, we can see a really important thing is going to be looking at the weight right here on SellerAmp, and now we can see the prof calculator numbers. However, what a lot of people do to gauge FBM numbers is they'll just subtract FBM shipping from this number. That is absolutely the incorrect way to do it. What you want to do instead, the correct way to do it is actually just to scroll down here on SellerAmp and actually toggle this to FBM and then put in the FBM cost right here. Now, I want to talk about the exact FBM cost relative to weight. We can see the weight up here, very, very important. However, we can see on this specific product, the FBA numbers, we would make a 6% ROI, but the FBM numbers would make a 32% ROI. And this is a perfect example of a very light product that's very expensive, and there's massive FBM arbitrage on this types of items. Conveniently, a lot of backpacks and bags and clothing items, which is good back to school stuff, fit into this criteria. So it's really important that you're actually factoring in the FBM numbers on SellerAmp. In terms of what you actually put in for the FBM cost on SellerAmp, here's a general guide. I'd recommend just taking a screenshot of this. In general, it's going to vary from time to time, and that different parts of the country, you're going to get orders from different parts of the country, etc. This is about what it's going to average out to. It's really important to note if Amazon is super expensive, use Pirate Ship, buy whatever's cheapest. In general, below £1 is going to be USPS. Above £1 is going to be UPS. You can also just test different numbers for different items on Pirate Ship if you want. If you're ever confused on what FBM cost is going to be, just go on Pirate Ship and simulate an order as far away as possible. So if you're in California, do one to Pennsylvania. If you're in Pennsylvania, do one to California, do one to like Boston or California to Washington, etc. And just simulate like a close order and a far away order and just take the average in terms of what you're going to estimate that out to. It really isn't going to vary a ton, especially on items that are below £1. When you should stop sending in FBA, this is something that like people think there's like a hard cutoff for, kind of similar to like back to school ending. It's just going to be on a listing by listing basis. Whenever FBM buy box share pops off on any of your items, which is typically also going to be when the competition goes down and the price goes up, is when FBM is going to start popping off here. In many cases, that's going to be right now, but every item's going to perform differently. If an item has a lot of FBM sellers, no need to wait for it to check in FBA. Get it pumping FBM today. All right, what products sell best? It kind of makes sense. It's everything you'd think would. Backpacks, crayons, shoes, clothing, school supplies, soccer, football, volleyball gear, etc. will do best. However, what item it is really doesn't matter. It's all just in the data and what you can actually find or really make profitable, right? Using Card Bear, Top Cashback gift cards, coupon extensions, Capital One shopping, different rewards programs, sales tax holidays, another big thing to back to school. Make sure you look up if your state has a sales tax holiday. Also using a reseller certificate if you're doing any retail arbitrage, which is really good at your local discount stores this time of year, and just different sales different retailers are going to have as well. And then in terms of how to source back to school items, storefront stocking for OA and lots of retail arbitrage at your local discount store is going to be huge. Don't necessarily like source for back to school though. Just find stuff that's profitable. Whatever's profitable, as far as I'm concerned, is a good back to school lead. You want to get listings up ASAP via FBM to learn and replenish if you see fit. It's really important to go hard this time of year, guys. It's going to set you up really, really well to be fully prepared for Q4 as well later this year between October and December when a ton of holidays happen. It's like basically a bigger version of back to school, or back to school is like a mini version of Q4, for example, right there. So that's 10 back to school tips. If you guys have any questions about this, please let us know down below in the comments. If you want to try out SellerAmp for free, you can do so with a 2-week free trial on our website, selleramp.com. Check out some of our other videos, and we'll see you guys in the next one.